Hey there, dreamers. Before we begin tonight's story, take a deep breath. Let your shoulders loosen, and let the day fade away. If you're listening right now, tell me, where in the world are you? What time is it there? I love seeing our little community stretch across the globe, listening together under the same moonlight. And if this story helps you drift off, give it a gentle like, or share it with someone who could use a calm moment tonight. Now close your eyes. And let's travel back in time. You wake in the year 1398, in a grand stone manor deep in the English countryside. Morning light filters through narrow windows, casting long beams across the chamber. You stretch beneath heavy wool blankets on a feather-stuffed mattress, a rare comfort in this age. Beyond your door, servants whisper. Footsteps echo down long halls, the manor stirring to life. You are Lord William Thornbrook, a noble whose lands stretch beyond sight, and whose wealth would dazzle any commoner. Yet, as you shift beneath the sheets, pain flares sharp and hot through your foot. Your big toe burns like it's been struck by fire. The slightest movement sends a wave of agony up your leg. Gout, the disease of kings. So begins your morning in a world where privilege carries a hidden curse. And even gold cannot shield the body from pain. A gentle knock at the door. "My lord," comes Thomas's careful voice. He enters, head bowed, carrying a silver basin filled with rose-scented water. Steam curls into the cool morning air. Behind him, two younger servants carry your clothes. Fine wool dyed deep green, lined with silk. Thomas sets the basin down. His movements respectful and measured. The household awaits your commands for the day. You shift, trying to sit up, and the moment you move, pain strikes again, a red-hot lance through your foot. A gasp. Thomas freezes. He's seen this before. "The gout, my lord." You nod grimly. "Send for Master Gilbert. Quickly." As Thomas hurries away, you lie back, staring at the carved beams above your bed. You can command armies, rule over hundreds of tenants, but you cannot command your own flesh. The chamber door opens again. The smell of herbs follows the man who enters. Master Gilbert, your physician. His robes are worn but clean. His face lined from years of study. He bows. "The gout has returned, my lord." "Like a bad penny," you mutter. "What cursed thing have I eaten this time?" Gilbert examines your foot. His touch light as a whisper. The skin is stretched, crimson, shiny with swelling. He sighs. "It is the humors, my lord. Too much heat, too much richness in your blood." You close your eyes, half listening. You already know the speech. He continues. "The body rebels when fed too well. Cruel joke, you think. To suffer for your blessings." Gilbert strokes his beard, explaining with practiced patience. The cold and moist phlegm settles in your joint, becomes corrupt, and thus comes the pain. You interrupt. "Spare me the humors, Gilbert. Say it plainly." He meets your gaze without fear. "Too much wine. Too much meat." You almost laugh. The same advice every time. He nods. "Because it remains true every time." He opens his leather satchel. Glass vials clinking softly inside. The faint aroma of vinegar and herbs fills the room. You watch him prepare his remedies, wondering whether this is the price of nobility, to live surrounded by plenty, yet chained by your own body. From the satchel, Gilbert lifts a small vial filled with dark liquid. "The tincture of poppy," he murmurs. "It will dull the pain." You hesitate. You know its power and its danger. Many a noble has grown too fond of its warmth. But the throbbing is relentless. "Do it," you say. He pours a measure into a small cup and hands it to you. Taste is bitter, heavy. You swallow, and warmth blooms slowly through your chest, spreading outward, softening the pain's sharp edge. Your eyes grow heavy. Gilbert's voice drifts, calm and distant. Rest, my lord. Let the herbs work. You surrender to the quiet hum of the room, the crackle of the fire, the soft breath of relief. When you open your eyes again, the pain is dulled. Outside your window, fields stretch golden in the afternoon light. Peasants move like waves across the wheat, men with scythes, women binding sheaves, children gleaning stray grains. Their rhythm is steady, purposeful. They labor from dawn to dusk, their lives bound to the land. You watch them, realizing with a strange pang that none of them suffer as you do. Their hands are calloused, their backs bent, but their joints do not burn from excess. Perhaps you think their hardship is simpler, purer. Gilbert's words return to you. The body rebels when fed too well. Your table groans with food each night. Roasted meats, honeyed wine, sugared confections. To eat less would be to seem weak. To feast is to rule. Yet, as you stare at your swollen foot, you wonder, is this luxury a kind of poison? Your wealth shelters you from hunger, but not from suffering. In the stillness, a truth whispers. Every privilege carries its own burden. Gilbert mixes herbs into a small mortar. Meadowsweet, willow bark, a dash of vinegar. He stirs slowly until it becomes a cool, green paste. This will ease the heat, he says, spreading it carefully over your foot. Relief seeps in like a slow tide. The fire within your joint softens, though it still smolders beneath. Next he offers another cup. Autumn crocus, he says. A gift from the east. It may shorten your suffering. You drink, grimacing at the bitterness. Little do either of you know, this remedy truly works. Centuries from now it will still be used. Gilbert departs, his footsteps fading down the corridor. The chamber quiets. Outside, you hear the rhythmic swing of scythes, the hum of voices, the laughter of children in the fields. You imagine their rough meals of bread and broth, their weary but honest sleep. And you, Lord William, lie in silks, your foot bound and throbbing. Privilege has its shadows. Perhaps every class in this world bears its own curse, one of hunger, the other of excess. Thomas returns. My lord, he says softly, the steward requests your approval for tomorrow's feast. A groan escapes you. Feast. I can barely move my foot. He bows his head. The guests have been invited. The merchant from London has arrived with spices. Spices, the taste of wealth itself. You sigh. Tell him to proceed, but add simpler dishes. More fish. Less wine in the sauces. Thomas blinks, surprised. Yes, my lord. Perhaps it's time to taste humility, just a little. Left alone again, you gaze toward the distant hills. Change feels strange in a house this old, built on tradition and display. But the pain has humbled you. You imagine a quieter feast. Fewer roasted beasts, fewer sweet wines. Maybe moderation could be the new mark of wisdom. Maybe, in time, other nobles would follow. It's a fragile thought, but for the first time it brings peace rather than pride. The sky fades to deep violet beyond the narrow windows. Candles flicker to life, their wax sweet and golden. The air smells of smoke and honey. Thomas lights the last candle and steps back. Will you need anything else, my lord? You shake your head. No, just quiet. He bows and leaves. The manor stills. Somewhere below, servants laugh softly in the kitchen. You close your eyes, the gentle light dancing against your eyelids. Even pain, softened by sleep, feels almost holy in its honesty. Morning again. Gilbert arrives, his face calm. He examines your foot. The swelling has eased. The crisis is passing, he says. But you must be cautious, my lord. Plainly. Drink little wine. You nod, though you both know how difficult that vow will be. To abstain, Gilbert adds, is a strength few nobles possess. Perhaps, you murmur, it's time someone tried. That afternoon your wife, Lady Elena, enters quietly. Her presence fills the room with calm. How do you feel? She asks, sitting beside you. Better, you admit. Thanks to Gilbert. She sighs, brushing a hand along your arm. The feast is tomorrow. I've told the cooks to prepare a simpler plate for you. You smile. Always thinking ahead. She squeezes your hand. If we live more modestly, others may follow. You nod. Then let it begin with us. Servants bring in beeswax candles, their flames soft and golden. The scent fills your chamber, sweet and clean. You imagine the peasants below, their rush lights guttering in smoky huts. Different worlds, same night. You rest your head, listening to the crackle of the hearth. Tomorrow the feast, and your quiet rebellion against excess begins. Pale sun filters through mist. You awaken to a softer ache in your foot. The worst has passed. Thomas helps you dress. Deep blue wool from Flanders, silver-embroidered sleeves, hose fitted with care. Your left shoe has been altered, the leather cut and widened to spare your toe. Your walking staff, my lord, Thomas says, offering the polished oak stick. You take it, feeling its weight. Symbol of power. And now necessity. In this world, appearance is survival. To show weakness is to invite whispers. You steady yourself, practicing your balance before the mirror's polished metal. Let them see a host, not an invalid, you tell Thomas. He nods solemnly. As you command, my lord. You take a slow breath. The day awaits, a dance of duty, pride and pain. The manor hums with life. Servants hang banners, polish silver, arrange garlands of autumn leaves. Cooks shout over roaring fires. The air is thick with the scent of roasting fowl, herbs and fresh bread. At the center of it all stands the high table, your throne for the evening. You watch from the balcony, your walking staff in hand. So much labor for one night's show. So much pressure to appear splendid. And all for reputation, the invisible crown that rules you all. You retreat to your chamber for a moment of quiet. The feast will begin soon, the guests already arriving. Your heart feels heavy, not from illness, but from the endless need to perform wealth. Perhaps this, more than gout, is the true curse of your rank. Still you square your shoulders. Nobility demands its price. And tonight you will pay it gracefully. The doors open. Music drifts out, strings and lutes, soft beneath the chatter of noble voices. You enter slowly, leaning on your staff. The murmurs hush. All eyes turn toward you. Lord Thornbrook, proud and poised despite your affliction. You smile, the picture of composure. Inside pain flickers. But you keep walking. Because in this age, dignity is as vital as breath. The feast begins. And so does your quiet war against the excess that rules your world. The great hall glows with candlelight. Dozens of flames shimmer on polished goblets and silver platters. The air is warm with laughter, the scent of roasted pheasant, spiced wine and sweetmeats. You take your seat at the high table beside Lady Elena, your staff resting discreetly at your side. Servants pour wine, carve meats, and fill bowls until the table overflows. You raise your cup, smiling through the throb in your foot. Friends, you say, may our harvest be as rich as our fellowship. A cheer rises, echoing beneath the timbered roof. And yet, even as the sound swells, you feel the old temptation whisper. Another bite, another cup, and you steady your hand, taking only a sip. Plates arrive in procession: roasted boar, trout glazed in honey, pies stuffed with quail and herbs. You breathe in the aroma, the old hunger waking in you. Every flavor promises comfort, every dish another test. Across the hall, the visiting baron tears into meat with gusto. He catches your eye. "You'll join me, Thornbrook." You smile politely. "Later, perhaps." He laughs, unaware of the small victory you've already claimed: restraint. In this hall of indulgence, a quiet refusal feels like rebellion. Lady Elena signals the servants. A separate plate is placed before you: boiled fish, barley bread, and stewed greens. Modest, almost humble. Some guests notice, exchanging curious glances. But you lift your fork calmly, unbothered. The flavors are clean, light, a relief after years of excess. Across the table, Elena meets your gaze, a faint smile of approval in her eyes. Perhaps change begins not with speeches, but with silent example. Later in the evening, as minstrels play softly, you hear murmurs ripple through the crowd. "The Lord eats like a monk tonight," someone jokes. Another replies, "Perhaps that's why he still walks at all." You pretend not to hear, sipping your watered wine. Mockery is the first step toward curiosity, and curiosity often turns to imitation. Let them talk, you think. The seed is planted. Lutes and flutes weave gentle tunes through the hall. The rhythm slows the pulse, even softens the pain in your foot. You sit straighter, letting the melody wash over you. For a moment you forget the ache, the expectations, the endless performance of wealth. In the candlelight, faces blur, voices soften, and the hall becomes a golden haze. You breathe deeply, quietly thankful for the illusion of peace. The visiting baron leans toward you. "You've gone soft, Thornbrook," he says with a grin. "Where's the spirit that once emptied every wine barrel?" You smile evenly. "Perhaps wisdom has replaced spirit." He laughs, shaking his head. "Wisdom tastes bitter." "Not tonight," you answer. "It tastes calm." The baron chuckles, but his eyes linger on your plate, curious now instead of mocking. Later, when the musicians pause and goblets clink, you rise slowly with your staff. "My friends," you begin, your voice steady but warm, "we celebrate abundance, yet let us remember the soil and the hands that bring it forth." Hush falls. May our gratitude be greater than our appetites. For a heartbeat, silence. Then applause. Even the baron raises his cup, thoughtful. You sit again, the ache in your foot returning, but inside something lighter stirs. The feast drifts toward its close. Guests laugh softly, their voices mellowed by wine and warmth. You lean back, exhausted yet content. Thomas appears, helping you to your feet. As you limp from the hall, torches flicker along the corridor, their glow painting the stone walls gold. Behind you the laughter fades, leaving only the echo of your staff against the floor. Steady, deliberate, resolute. In your chamber the fire burns low. Lady Elena removes your shoe carefully, revealing the swollen toe beneath. "It's better," she says softly, "but still tender." You nod. "Painful, yet bearable." He smiles. "That may describe much of life." You laugh quietly, easing onto the bed. Outside, an owl calls across the dark fields. Sleep comes slowly, but with it, a sense of calm you haven't known in years. Dawn creeps through the shutters. The pain has dulled to a steady throb. You rise with care, leaning on your staff, gazing at the mist over the fields. The workers are already in motion, their breath rising in the cool air. You think of them, their steady rhythm, their humble meals. Perhaps their way holds a kind of wisdom the nobility has forgotten. You whisper to the empty room, Today we begin anew. In the hall below, you summon Thomas and the steward. Fewer delicacies in the kitchen, you say. More grains, vegetables, fish. The steward blinks in confusion. My lord, will the guests not? They'll adjust, you interrupt. We all will. Thomas hides a small smile. You know it won't be simple. Change never is, but it must begin somewhere. At your desk, quills scratch across parchment. You sign letters, seal them with wax, balance accounts. The tasks feel grounding, almost cleansing. Outside, the hum of daily life carries on. You sip water instead of wine, nibbling a crust of bread. For the first time, your stomach feels light. Perhaps self-control, like land, must be tended each day. Later, a knock. Enter, you call. Master Gilbert steps in, brow raised. You look improved, my lord. You smile. Your remedies worked. But I've found another cure, restraint. He chuckles. A rare medicine indeed. You gesture toward a chair. Stay a while. Tell me of your travels in France. The two of you speak softly of learning, of how little anyone truly understands the body's mysteries. For once, the conversation is not about pain but curiosity. That evening, the steward approaches hesitantly. My lord, the cooks whisper that the new orders will make the manor appear frugal. You nod. Let them whisper. In time they'll call it fashionable. He frowns, uncertain. You meet his gaze. Better they think me odd than crippled. The steward bows. As you wish. And with that, a quiet revolution begins in your kitchens. Days later, a small supper is laid out. Fish roasted with herbs, boiled grains, fresh bread, apples. No rich sauces, no sugared tarts. Lady Elena sits across from you, smiling. It feels peaceful, she says. You nod. And tastes honest. The servants exchange surprised looks, but eat their share gladly. The hall feels lighter, as though even the air approves. Word travels quickly among the nobility. Lord Thornbrook eats like a monk. Someone laughs in London. Another replies. And yet he looks better than before. Soon curiosity outweighs mockery. Merchants notice your reduced orders for wine and game. Other lords begin to question their own habits. Change, slow as winter frost, begins to spread. One afternoon you walk, slowly, carefully, to the edge of your fields. Peasants pause, bowing low. You raise a hand. Carry on. Their scythes whisper through the wheat. You watch, mesmerized by their simple grace. No jewels, no silk, yet their lives move with purpose. For a moment you envy them, not their poverty but their clarity. Returning to the manor, you find the steward waiting. The stores are full, my lord. With less waste, we've saved a small fortune. You smile faintly. Good. Send grain to the village miller. Let him share it with the poor. The steward hesitates. That is unusual. All change is, you reply. He bows deeply, understanding dawning behind his cautious eyes. That night you sit beside the hearth. The firelight glows against the stone walls, casting long, dancing shadows. Your foot still aches, but it's a quiet ache, a reminder, not a torment. You think of the feast, the whispers, the small victories. Maybe this is what true wealth means, the power to choose simplicity. You smile softly, letting the warmth settle into your bones. Sleep comes gently. You dream of fields under moonlight, of servants laughing freely, of tables filled not with excess, but with enough. In your dream your foot no longer burns. You walk unhurried through the mist, the earth cool beneath your steps. Somewhere a bell tolls from a distant chapel, slow, peaceful, steady. You breathe deeply, feeling both mortal and content. For the first time in many years, you rest without regret. Weeks pass. The pain in your foot fades, returning only as a dull echo. But in its place, a new murmur spreads, a whisper that Lord Thornbrook has changed. Some call it wisdom, others call it folly. Yet, when guests visit your manor, they leave speaking of your clarity, your calm. You are no longer merely wealthy. You are different. And in the world of nobles, different is the first step toward important. One crisp morning, a messenger announces the arrival of Sir Edmund of Weatherly, a fellow lord and old friend. He strides into your hall with his usual confidence, laughing loud enough to fill the space. "Thornbrook, they say you've turned monkish." You smile. "Only careful." He sits, accepting a cup of watered wine. "You've lost weight," he observes, "and gained serenity." You chuckle. "It costs less than wine and hurts less than gout." For a moment, Edmund studies you, and his laughter softens. Later by the fire, Edmund rubs his knee. "This joint of mine," he grumbles, "burns like the devil's breath. The physician says gout." You nod knowingly. "Then you stand where I once did." He sighs. "I thought only kings suffered such things." "Not kings," you correct gently. "Merely men with too much." Your friend laughs, but it's weary now. Perhaps you think pain teaches faster than words ever can. In the following weeks, small changes ripple outward. Sir Edmund's cooks begin preparing simpler meals. His steward orders fewer barrels of sweet wine. You hear of it through the grapevine. Small acts inspired by your example. No decrees, no sermons, only imitation. That is the power of stillness. It spreads without sound. One morning, your scribe delivers a sealed letter from London. It bears the crest of Lady Beatrice, your cousin at court. She writes, "Word of your household has reached the king's ear. They say you dine with monks and live like a scholar. Is this true?" You smile, dipping your quill. "If it brings peace, cousin, then yes. Even a lord must learn simplicity." You seal the letter, wondering what ripples this truth will make in a world that prizes excess. Master Gilbert visits again. His eyes bright with curiosity. "I hear talk in every hall of your restraint," he says. "Even the physicians marvel." You pour him a cup of barley water. He smiles. "You've turned healer yourself, my lord." You shake your head. "Only patient." He examines your foot. Less swollen, more supple. "You may yet outlive the rich fools who mock you," he muses. You both laugh, though beneath it lies quiet truth. The village celebrates the harvest. From your balcony, you watch the peasants dance around the bonfire. Laughter rises like sparks into the dark sky. Elena joins you, her shawl drawn tight. "They seem happier than we are," she says softly. "They have fewer choices," you reply. "But perhaps fewer burdens, too." You both fall silent, watching the flames, feeling their warmth, a shared understanding flickering between you. Weeks later, the steward approaches with accounts. "My lord, we've stored enough grain for winter and still have surplus to trade." You nod approvingly. "And the people? They fare well," he says. "No hunger, no unrest." You smile. "That is worth more than gold." For the first time, the steward's cautious face softens into quiet pride. Perhaps even duty tastes sweeter when it serves more than appearance. With the help of your staff, you step outside into the fading light. The air smells of earth and wood smoke. Children chase each other near the millstream. You pause, leaning against a tree, listening to their laughter. It echoes through the mist like music. In their joy, you glimpse something pure, life untouched by wealth or want. For a moment, The ache in your foot vanishes completely. That night, before the mirror's polished metal, you study your reflection. Lines etch your face, silver streaks your hair. But your eyes, they seem clearer now. You think of the man you were. Restless, indulgent, driven by vanity. And the man you've become. Slower, perhaps humbler, but finally at peace. It took pain to find balance, but maybe that's the only way mortals learn. Winter approaches. A letter arrives from Sir Edmund. Your advice spared me agony. I followed your path and found relief. Another from a young lord. Your change has inspired my household to live more modestly. You place the letters by the hearth, warmed by their words. Change spreads not by power but by example, a truth the world too often forgets. Snow blankets your lands, soft and pure. The peasants' cottages smoke gently in the cold morning air. You watch from your window, wrapped in a heavy cloak. Even in winter, life moves quietly. Bread baking, fires burning, hearts enduring. You sip warm broth, grateful for the stillness. Luxury, you think, is not abundance. It is peace without guilt. One day, a royal messenger arrives on horseback, frost clinging to his cloak. "My lord," he says, bowing. "His Majesty has heard of your household's restraint. He is intrigued." You hide a smile. Intrigued or displeased? The envoy hesitates. "Curious, my lord." The king wonders if moderation might bring steadiness to his court. You nod slowly. "Tell His Majesty that temperance is a crown no one need steal." You invite the envoy to dine. The table is simple. Fish, bread, vegetables, and honeyed water. He eats cautiously at first, then nods. "It's good." "Enough is always good," you reply. He smiles, surprised by the comfort in such modest fare. When he departs, he promises to speak well of you to the king. And you know, quietly, that your example may travel farther than you ever could. That night you sit by the fire again, the warmth brushing your face. The crackle reminds you of every feast that once burned with excess. Now the silence feels richer than any song. Lady Elena sits beside you, sewing quietly. Neither of you speak. You don't need to. Sometimes peace is not found in words, but in the shared rhythm of breath and flame. Later, lying in bed, you feel a faint twinge in your toe, a whisper of the old agony. But instead of dread, it brings gratitude. Pain was your teacher, stern but truthful. It forced you to see what gold had hidden. You close your eyes, murmuring softly, "Thank you, old enemy." The ache fades, as if satisfied with your humility. Spring returns, bringing with it a traveling monk seeking shelter. You welcome him, offering a simple meal and warm rest. Over supper he speaks of balance, how even the soul can grow gout from excess. You laugh softly. "Then I've been ill in more ways than one." He smiles. "And now you're healing." His words linger long after he leaves, as gentle as prayer. In the warmer months, you tend a small garden with Elena. Herbs, flowers, and modest vegetables fill the space. The act of working the soil, slow and steady, soothes you. You kneel carefully, your foot steady, your breath even. "Strange," you say, "how peace grows from dirt." Lena smiles. "Only when we learn to listen." You nod. The earth hums quietly beneath your hands. Gilbert returns after many months. "You seem younger, my lord," he observes. You laugh. "Perhaps wisdom lightens the bones." He studies you, clearly pleased. "Your gout is nearly gone. I've never seen such progress." "It wasn't your herbs, Gilbert," you tease gently. "It was your lesson, spoken long ago." He bows slightly. "Then I've done my duty." Summer dusk settles over your lands. You walk slowly along the garden path, staff tapping softly against the stones. The air smells of rain and cut grass. You pause to watch the sunset, the sky painted in gold and crimson. In that fading light you see it clearly. Not riches, not rank, but balance. The body healed, the spirit quiet, the heart full. You whisper to the wind, "At last, I've learned how to live." Merchants traveling through your lands carry more than goods now. They carry stories. They speak of a Lord who lives simply, whose hearth is humble, whose table feeds many. In taverns and markets, your name becomes a quiet proverb. Eat as Thornbrook eats, enough and no more. You smile when Thomas tells you, "Let the tale wander where it will. Good seeds find their own soil." You sit among the elders of the nearby village, not above them but beside. They discuss repairs to the mill, the share of grain, the sickness of an ox. You listen more than you speak. When you do, your words are soft, practical, free of command. They thank you not as Lord but as neighbor. Feels strange, and right. In the weeks that follow, the manor's ledgers show something unexpected. Fewer debts, fuller barns, and laughter returning to the halls. You realize wealth was never meant to pile high like stones. It was meant to move, to nourish. And as it moves through your people, it returns to you as peace. Another royal seal arrives. The king requests counsel. How may temperance bring order to the realm? You read the parchment twice, smiling faintly. To teach restraint to a court of excess, it will be no easy sermon. But perhaps wisdom, once planted, can even grow in marble halls. You travel slowly to London, carriage rocking along rutted roads. The countryside blurs, farms, rivers, villages, all touched by summer light. Thomas rides beside you, vigilant, loyal as ever. Your staff rests against your knee. Your foot aches, but gently now. You think of the man who once rode only to feast. Now you ride to speak of moderation. The king's court dazzles with gold and laughter. Perfumed air, jeweled hands, overflowing cups, a world you once adored. When you bow, the king regards you curiously. "So, Lord Thornbrook," he says, "they call you the humble noble." You smile. Humble, perhaps, but still noble, I hope. A ripple of amusement passes through the room, and a flicker of respect. You speak quietly, your tone steady and sincere. "Majesty, we rule by example. If we consume endlessly, our people will hunger endlessly. But if we live with measure, the realm may find balance." The king studies you, chin resting on his jeweled hand. "You would have us live like peasants." "No, sire," you reply softly. "Like men who remember what hunger feels like." The hall falls silent. Later, in private, the king walks with you through his garden. He plucks an apple, examines it. "My physicians say I too suffer the gout," he admits quietly. You bow your head. Then fate teaches evenly, even to kings. He smiles faintly. Perhaps there is wisdom in simplicity after all. The seed takes root where it must, in royal soil. When you return to Thornbrook Manor, the fields shimmer gold beneath the sun. Villagers wave as your carriage passes. Elena greets you at the gate, eyes bright with pride. "You've been gone long," she says. "Long enough," you answer. The world is listening. And for the first time, the weight of age feels lighter than the promise of change. To celebrate your return, the villagers prepare a gathering. Tables line the green, bread, fruit, cheese, and cider. No silver, no velvet, only laughter and wind. You sit among them, sharing their meal. Children chase each other between benches. You raise your wooden cup. "To enough," you say. They cheer, the sound echoing against the hills. Later, as the crowd disperses, Thomas walks beside you. You've changed this place, he says. You smile. No, Thomas. It changed itself once it remembered what mattered. He nods slowly. Even the loyal servant has found something lighter in his step. The quiet reward of serving not just a master, but a purpose. That evening, the wind hums through the open window. You lie awake listening. The air smells of grass and distant rain. In the dark, you think of all you've lost. Excess, vanity, the dull ache of want. And all you've gained, clarity, calm, compassion. The trade was fair. Father Anselm arrives, robes dusty from travel. He thanks you for supporting the poor and feeding the hungry. Faith thrives where pride weakens, he says. You smile. Then the harvest has been good. He blesses your household, murmuring words that sound like gentle rain. For once, you believe not out of fear but understanding. By the hearth, Elena speaks softly. You've given much to others, William. Do you ever keep anything for yourself? You think for a moment. Only peace. And that I'll share freely. She laughs quietly. Then may your peace never run out. Her hand rests on yours, and silence becomes its own blessing. A band of weary travelers arrives seeking food and lodging. You offer the hall and a warm meal. They tell tales of famine, of lords who hoard while villages starve. You listen, heart heavy but steadfast. Tell them, you say, that one manor remembers mercy. They leave the next morning, their gratitude brighter than any coin. Gilbert writes again. The court speaks of your words to the king. Physicians now discuss temperance as cure as well as creed. You fold the letter, smiling. Not fame, not glory, but influence born of sincerity. Sometimes the quietest voices echo the longest. A fierce storm batters the manor. Roof tiles clatter, trees bend, lightning splits the sky. You stand at the window, feeling both small and strong. Nature reminds you. Everything excessive eventually breaks. When morning comes, the air is clean, the world renewed. Even destruction, it seems, knows restraint. You send pouches of grain and herb seeds to neighboring villages. Not gold seeds. Each bag carries a note. Plant what endures. Months later, messengers bring word of thriving gardens, of gratitude. You realize generosity multiplies when it's shared, not spent. The baron who once mocked you writes humbly, I am bedridden now, cursed with the gout. Teach me your way if pride can still learn. You reply without scorn. Begin by eating less, laughing more, and thanking even your pain. It will guide you as it did me. Forgiveness tastes lighter than triumph. The day fades. The manor glows with lamplight. You sit on the terrace, watching swallows dive through dusk. Elena hums softly beside you. Thomas tends the lanterns. The world feels balanced. Neither grand nor meager, just enough. You breathe in the scent of summer earth and whisper, let tomorrow come as it will. I have learned to meet it gently. And with that thought you close your eyes, the night folding around you like a calm tide. Leaves drift gold and copper across the courtyard. You walk slowly now, staff tapping on worn stones, but the ache in your foot is only a whisper. Every gust carries the scent of harvest fires and baked bread. Autumn used to mean banquets and boasting. Now it means gratitude. You watch workers laugh as they load the last wagons of grain and feel content to simply witness. Your eldest son, Edmund, rides in from the city. He bows, half formal, half warm. Father, he asks, why do you live so modestly when we could live richly? You rest a hand on his shoulder. Because comfort is sweeter when it's shared. He thinks a long time before nodding. The seed lands, though it may take years to sprout. By candlelight you show Edmund the estate accounts. Each number tells a story, not of profit but of people. This, you say, tracing a line, is the cost of greed, and this, the reward of fairness. He listens, eyes widening as he understands that ledgers can measure kindness as well as coin. Your old physician writes again, the script shaky with age. My lord, I near my final season, yet I owe you thanks. Your restraint has healed more than your gout. It cured my vanity as a man of science. You smile softly. Even wisdom, it seems, can travel by ink. Snow drifts against the manor walls. The fire hums low, and Elena knits beside you. Outside, a child's laughter rings through the cold. You close your eyes, the warmth wrapping around you like memory itself. Age, you realize, is not a thief but a keeper of gentle things. At your urging, a small school opens near the chapel. A young clerk teaches letters to peasant children. You watch from the doorway, smiling as chalk dust floats in the sunlight. Knowledge, like kindness, multiplies when given freely. Each autumn, the villagers now hold a festival of enough. No noble banners, no silver plates, only food shared evenly and songs of gratitude. They invite you to sit among them, not above. You raise your cup of cider. To balance, you say. The cheer that follows warms you more than any wine. In the chapel, you kneel beside Father Anselm. I feared death once, you whisper. Now I fear forgetting to be thankful. Smiles. Then you are already prepared for both life and death. You rise lighter than when you entered. Lady Elena tends rows of herbs and flowers. She shows you a new bloom, white and delicate. It came from the seeds you sent abroad, she says. You inhale its faint perfume. The world has a way of returning every kindness, one petal at a time. Years roll quietly. Storms come and go, harvests wax and wane, children grow tall. You remain steady, the old oak of Thornbrook. Sometimes your foot aches in the rain, but you smile through it. Pain reminds you you're still part of the living earth. At the next feast, Edmund sits in your place at the high table. He welcomes guests with grace, serves food before taking his own. You watch, unseen pride warming your chest. Legacy isn't what you leave behind. It's what continues while you still breathe. An old field hand brings you a loaf of bread, baked from wheat grown on your land. It's good grain this year, he says shyly. You break the loaf and share it right there on the step. Simple bread, simple thanks, the world distilled to what matters. A wandering storyteller passes through. He recounts legends of nobles cursed by excess and saved by humility. When he speaks of a lord who turned his pain into wisdom, you realize he means you. You say nothing. Legends belong to the listeners. You write to the monarch, now older, perhaps wiser. Your Majesty, you begin. May your table always hold enough for others as well as yourself. You seal it with wax and a quiet hope. The courier rides into dawn, carrying not flattery but friendship. One morning you wake and the pain in your foot is gone entirely. You sit up slowly, surprised by the absence. For years the gout had been your teacher. Now the lessons are complete. You whisper, thank you, to the still air. You gather your household, family, servants, tenants. Remember, you tell them, wealth is a tool, not a throne. Use it to build, not to boast. Their faces glow in the firelight. A hush settles. Wisdom has its own kind of music. That night, every window in the manor glows with a single candle. No feasting, no noise. Only light and quiet gratitude. You sit at your desk, writing in a steady hand. All that I have learned came first through pain. The ink dries slowly like breath at rest. You wake to birdsong and a pale wash of dawn. Elena opens the curtains. The fields shimmer with dew. You sip warm barley water, the same humble drink from long ago, and smile. Simplicity has become luxury itself. You hand your polished walking staff to Edmund. It's lighter than it looks, you say. He holds it reverently. Because you no longer carry the burden tied to it, he replies. The circle closes gently. You have taught him well. Scene 100. The quiet legacy. Twilight, you sit alone in the garden. The air hums with crickets. The sky glows rose and gold. You think of the years, the pain, the lessons, the peace that followed. Somewhere beyond, bells toll faintly from the village you helped reshape. You close your eyes and breathe the scent of earth and beeswax. Your story, like the evening, fades softly into rest, calm, complete, and full of enough. The morning breaks soft and golden. Sunlight falls across the old oak desk, illuminating a single sheet of parchment, your final letter to your son. Your hand trembles, but the words come easily. Gratitude, not regret. You write of patience, of the strange gift hidden in pain, of the joy found in simplicity. When you finish, you fold the letter and place it beneath a smooth river stone collected long ago, a symbol of endurance. The manor hums quietly beyond the window. Voices, laughter, life moving on. You feel no fear, only stillness. When Elena enters, you smile and whisper, "The fields will bloom again." She takes your hand, her eyes wet with love. The sunlight drifts higher. The warmth on your face feels like the world itself saying goodbye. The bell tolls slowly across Thornbrook Valley. It is not a sound of mourning but of gratitude, one clear tone for every year of your life. In the courtyard, peasants and nobles stand side by side, heads bowed, hands clasped. Edmund stands before them, tall and composed, though his eyes shine. The wind carries a scattering of white petals across the stones, drifting like soft snow. A priest's voice rises, gentle as a lullaby. He taught us that mercy builds stronger walls than stone. The people echo amen, and for a moment, the whole valley seems to breathe in unison. Far above, in the sky's endless blue, a falcon circles, free, unbound, soaring toward the light. That night, Edmund sits alone in his father's study. The hearth glows low. The scent of wax and cedar fills the air. He finds the folded letter beneath the river stone, just as his father intended. The script is delicate but sure. "My son, measure wealth not by silver, but by the peace within your chest." He reads it aloud, his voice breaking halfway through. Each sentence seems to speak directly to his doubts, to the uncertainty of inheritance. He traces the faded ink with his finger, a silent vow forming, to lead not through command but through care. Outside, rain begins to fall, soft and steady, washing the dust of the day into the earth. The next morning, the manor feels both familiar and new. Edmund walks the corridors his father once ruled, hearing echoes of footsteps long past. The servants greet him quietly, unsure whether to bow or smile. He chooses to smile first. "Breakfast will be simple today," he says gently, "and the workers will eat with us." Gasps ripple through the hall, followed by uncertain laughter. But when bread and porridge are shared around the same table, something shifts. A weight lifts, invisible but real. The Thornbrook estate breathes again, this time without division. In that moment, Edmund feels the ghost of his father beside him, nodding in quiet approval. Days turn to weeks, and Edmund begins to walk the land as his father once did. The fields stretch wide and alive beneath a pale sky. Farmers pause their work to greet him, expecting orders. Instead, he asks about their families, their harvest, their hopes for winter. He learns the rhythm of their lives, the unspoken wisdom of soil and sweat. Each evening he returns to the manor with boots muddied and heart lighter. In the chapel garden, he kneels beside the old stone that marks William's resting place. "The earth remembers you," he whispers, "and so do I." Above, the wind carries the scent of tilled soil and autumn grass, the smell of continuity, humble and true. The Thornbrook signet ring feels heavier than expected. Edmund wears it not as ornament but reminder. When he seals his first decree, lowering levies after a harsh winter, he hesitates, hearing echoes of his father's calm reasoning. He presses the wax and lifts the seal. The imprint gleams red in candlelight, a mark of power now guided by compassion. Outside, the snow melts in rivulets that glisten like threads of silver. He thinks of it as the land's approval, the earth softening under gentler hands. A woman from the village poorhouse appears at the gate with 3 thin children. Edmund invites them in, scandalizing his steward. They eat in the kitchen, simple fare of soup and bread. When the youngest laughs, a clear, unguarded sound, he realizes charity is not a gift downward, but a bridge sideways. Later, he orders the old granary repaired and turned into shelter. The workers grumble at first, but the warmth in the woman's thanks silences all complaint. Late nights find Edmund bent over ledgers. He discovers forgotten debts, peasants owing coin his father forgave but never erased from record. One by one he draws a line through each name, the ink dark and final. He adds a note in the margin, "Debt forgiven, lesson kept." When dawn seeps through the shutters, he feels not exhaustion but clarity. The ink stains his fingers like soil, proof of honest work. Lady Elena, gray now but radiant, walks slowly through her garden. She plucks a single rose and calls Edmund to her side. "This one," she says softly, "grew from your father's last cutting." He holds it carefully, breathing in its fading scent. "Then it carries both your hearts," he replies. That night, he places the rose on the mantel above her chair, where it dries but never truly dies. Spring returns, and with it the villagers' celebration. But Edmund alters the tradition. No banners of gold, no grand speeches. Instead, every family brings something to share. Bread, herbs, honey, laughter. When the sun dips, he stands before them and says simply, "To the land, our truest lord." The crowd cheers softly, almost reverently. A gust of wind scatters petals through the firelight, and he feels the warmth of a legacy still alive. A traveling painter visits the manor, offering portraits for coin. Edmund agrees on one condition. He wishes to be painted beside the villagers, not apart. The artist hesitates but complies. When the canvas is unveiled, the image shows a circle of faces, lord and peasant alike, hands linked. Visitors call it unusual, even improper. Edmund smiles. So was kindness once. A royal messenger arrives, bearing a scroll stamped in gold. The king requests higher taxes to fund a new campaign abroad. Edmund reads it twice, the ink cold against his heart. That night, he writes back with measured grace, "My people have given enough to the soil and to each other. Let their rest be their service." The reply never comes, but neither do the collectors. Sometimes defiance is the gentlest kind of strength. Heavy rains swell the river, drowning the barley fields. Workers despair as the crops vanish beneath gray water. Edmund rolls up his sleeves and joins them, hauling stones to shore up the bank. When they see their lord knee-deep in mud beside them, something changes. Work turns to shared rhythm, fear to laughter. By dusk, the flood has receded, and respect has deepened. On the night after the flood, Edmund orders lanterns hung across the valley. Each window, each barn, each cottage glows softly. From the hill, the manor looks down upon a sea of light, the village illuminated like a constellation. Old Thomas, the steward, murmurs, "Your father would have wept to see this." Edmund nods, voice hushed. "Then let these lights be our prayer." A traveler arrives on a rain-slick evening, cloaked and weary. He speaks of distant lands, of famine and war. Edmund gives him shelter, food, and warmth without question. In the morning, the man reveals himself as a scholar of the king's court, seeking refuge from politics. Before leaving, he bows deeply. "You rule your heart better than most rule kingdoms." Edmund only smiles. "This valley rules itself, I merely listen." A young shepherd crafts a flute from elder wood and plays outside the manor gates. The melody drifts upward, haunting and sweet. Edmund invites him to play at the next gathering, where the song becomes the valley's hymn. Gentle, circular, timeless. No lyrics, only feeling. Later he tells the boy, "You've done what no decree could. You've made strangers feel like kin." As another harsh season passes, Edmund writes a record of each hardship and mercy. He binds the pages with leather, titling it The Chronicle of Enough. It is not history of battles or conquests, but of meals shared, roofs repaired, hands held. When he closes the book, he imagines his father's approving nod, and the faint smile of a world quietly mended. Thornbrook's market swells with traders and laughter. Coins clink, spices fill the air, and a juggler tosses apples skyward. Edmund moves among the people unnoticed at first, until a farmer's child tugs his sleeve. "You're the Lord, aren't you?" she asks. He kneels, smiling. "Only when I must be. Today I'm just a man buying bread." The child giggles, and somewhere, the past sighs in contentment. Years pass softly, blurring edges between seasons. The manor stones grow warm with age. Ivy curls along every wall. Edmund walks the corridors at dusk, hand tracing the banister his father once polished smooth. Each creak, each echo feels like memory alive. He whispers, "We have kept the balance." Outside, the fields shimmer in fading light. A kingdom small but whole. On the anniversary of his father's passing, Edmund sits in the garden, where a single rose still blooms against all odds. He kneels, fingertips brushing the petals, and feels the pulse of time, slow, forgiving. The sun sets behind the manor, spilling gold across the land. He thinks of all that has been learned, all that has endured. Somewhere within, a quiet voice says, "Rest, son of Thornbrook. The work is done." He smiles, eyes closing, the air filled with birdsong and peace, a perfect echo of beginnings. Dawn arrives over Thornbrook with a pale wash of light. Dew glimmers on the long grass, clinging to each blade like tiny jewels. The birds call in soft chorus, announcing the birth of a new season. Edmund walks among the fields, noting the furrows and the early shoots of wheat. The soil smells damp and sweet. He pauses to breathe in the cool air, remembering the first spring he tended these lands as a young lord. Life moves quietly, steadily, as if honoring the rhythm of the generations that came before. The children run through the courtyard, laughter echoing against stone walls. They chase each other among the carts of hay and flower beds, their faces flushed with warmth. Edmund watches them, thinking how his father once watched him, a small boy learning patience and kindness. Each child carries promise, unshaped and bright. He whispers to himself that the world is safer when young hearts learn early what it means to care for others, to share abundance without greed. A caravan arrives from the neighboring county, laden with spices, textiles, and carefully packed letters. Merchants bow and exchange greetings, while Edmund greets each with steady warmth. The caravan carries more than goods. It carries stories, ideas, and the rhythm of life from distant lands. He examines the letters and packages with quiet curiosity, understanding that wealth is not merely coins and silver, but connections and knowledge, the invisible threads that bind villages, towns, and kingdoms. In the manor orchard, the blossoms are white as snow against the green leaves. Bees hum among the petals, their wings a constant whisper. Edmund strolls between the rows of apple and pear trees, hand trailing along rough bark. He recalls his father's lessons. Tending the land is tending life itself. Every tree he nurtures now carries the hope of generations, each blossom a reminder that patience, care, and gentle oversight yield more than haste and excess ever could. As evening descends, the bell of Thornbrook tolls over the quiet valley. It rings slow and low, a steady heartbeat of stone and air. Villagers pause, bowing heads in respect for the rhythms of work and rest. Edmund stands in the doorway of the manor, observing the scene. The bell's sound carries a gentle reminder. Time passes, life continues, and those who lead bear responsibility to maintain balance, to safeguard peace, to honor the legacy entrusted to them. Edmund composes his first letter to the king. The parchment feels alive under his fingers, its weight as heavy as responsibility itself. He writes of the valley, of harvests, of the simple measures that sustain both people and land. The ink dries slowly, as if allowing time for reflection. He knows the crown expects grandeur, yet he writes with honesty and care. Sometimes the quiet truth speaks louder than any gold seal ever could. A pilgrim arrives at the manor gates, dusty and weary from a long journey. He carries tales of distant shrines and holy lands. Edmund invites him in, offering warmth, food, and a bed for the night. The pilgrim tells stories of hardship and generosity elsewhere, and Edmund listens, learning that the reach of kindness extends far beyond the walls of Thornbrook. The candle flickers, casting soft shadows across the room as they share quiet conversation into the night. Edmund walks along the riverbank at dawn. The water moves with calm persistence, carving its path around stones and reeds. He watches the reflection of the sky ripple in the current, and thinks of life itself, constant, flowing, and shaped by the careful guidance of hands that nurture without grasping. A heron lifts from the shallows, wings silent and wide. Edmund breathes deeply, feeling the pulse of the valley in the rhythm of the river. Snow blankets the fields, soft and silent. The world seems paused, as if holding its breath. Edmund sits by the fire, ledger and journal open on his lap, tracing months of harvests, kindnesses, and lessons learned. Outside, the wind hums gently against the manor stones. He thinks of his father, of the generations yet to come, and feels a quiet certainty. Balance is never achieved by wealth alone, but by care, patience, and the gentle tending of those around you. Winter passes, and with it the festival of light arrives. Lanterns are hung along every path and window, glowing softly against the night. Villagers gather, offering songs, simple gifts, and laughter. Edmund moves among them quietly, heart full. He lifts a lantern high and watches it sway in the evening breeze. The light reflects in every eye, a reminder that even the smallest spark of kindness can illuminate a valley, a life, a legacy. The scholar who once visited the manor returns, older and wiser, carrying scrolls filled with new knowledge. He bows to Edmund, sharing discoveries that span kingdoms. Edmund listens carefully, absorbing lessons not from conquest or wealth, but from the breadth of human curiosity. They speak long into the night, the candlelight flickering across maps, letters, and ideas. Knowledge, he realizes, is a river flowing into all hands willing to receive it. Some trees have aged and withered, and Edmund orders new saplings planted among them. Workers bend in careful rows, digging holes, setting roots deep into the soil. He kneels, hands in the earth, guiding each seedling. Every tree carries intention, memory, and hope. The blossoms of the future will bear the weight of lessons learned and the promise of a world that thrives because those who walk it first tread gently. The moon rises, large and amber, over fields heavy with grain. Harvesters move through the golden stalks, their shadows long and slow. Edmund walks beside them, observing, listening. He offers words of encouragement rather than command, and each worker responds with quiet respect. The valley hums with rhythm, of scythes, footsteps, laughter. Under the moonlight, the land itself seems to lean toward care and gratitude. A young traveler arrives at the manor gates, bringing stories from lands beyond the mountains. He speaks of villages where generosity is rare and hardship frequent. Edmund welcomes him, offering hearth and table. The traveler marvels at the balance of Thornbrook, abundance without greed, power without oppression. He leaves the next day, carrying not coins but the quiet lesson of what a lord can be when his heart guides his hands. Evening settles, and the great hall glows with dozens of candles, each flame steady and golden. Villagers, family, and servants gather in soft conversation. Edmund sits quietly, listening more than speaking. The light dances across faces, warming hearts and stone alike. In this gentle illumination, he feels the rhythm of generations, past, present, and future, and understands that the strength of Thornbrook lies not in walls or wealth, but in the soft, persistent light of shared life. A storm descends, rattling the manor and whipping through the valley. Windows shiver and trees bend under the wind, but Edmund stands calm, watching from the hall. He listens to the rhythm of rain and snow, reminding himself that even the strongest structures must endure challenge. Outside, the land bends but does not break, and so must he. There is wisdom in patience, resilience in calm, and courage in quiet observation. The visiting scholar presents Edmund with a small, leather-bound volume. Inside are sketches of plants, stars, and patterns of the earth, collected over years. "May this guide your stewardship," he says softly. Edmund accepts it reverently, understanding that legacy is not only past deeds but the knowledge passed forward. He places the volume in his study, a quiet reminder that learning, like kindness, is a gift that grows when shared. Spring returns once more. Flowers bloom along the riverbanks, birds build nests in orchard trees, and the scent of earth rises with the morning sun. Edmund walks among the fields, feeling the pulse of life in each leaf, each blade of grass. He touches the soil and smiles, knowing that balance, once planted, requires constant tending. Life flows gently here, in rhythm with the seasons, under hands guided by care and memory. The valley darkens, and a sky of infinite stars opens above. Edmund lies on the grass beside a stream, listening to the gentle rush of water. He watches the constellations, tracing shapes remembered from childhood tales. The night feels vast, infinite, yet safe, a reminder that small acts, grounded in wisdom and compassion, ripple outward across time. Somewhere beyond, the legacy of Thornbrook glimmers quietly like the distant light of a faraway star. Edmund returns to the manor as night falls. The hearth burns low, casting a soft glow across walls lined with books, scrolls, and memories. He sits, hands folded, reflecting on the years of gentle rule, lessons learned, and lives touched. Outside, crickets sing and the wind whispers through the trees. The valley rests, steady and patient, as if breathing in unison with him. He leans back, eyes closing, letting the quiet warmth of the hearth seep into his bones, the peace of balance and the continuity of Thornbrook folding him into rest. The scholar returns once more, carrying scrolls from distant cities. He speaks softly of markets, of rivers that carry goods and ideas far beyond the valley. Edmund listens, tracing each word like a map. He realizes that Thornbrook's care is not limited to its own fields. Knowledge, like water, flows outward, touching lives unseen. That night, he sits by candlelight, planning small letters, gifts, and guidance for neighboring villages, spreading quiet balance like seeds across the land. A troupe of minstrels arrives, singing stories of distant lords and heroes. Their music drifts through the manor corridors, filling empty corners with sound and warmth. Edmund invites villagers to gather in the courtyard, where they sit on straw and stone alike, listening as the tales unfold. Children lean forward wide-eyed. Adults smile softly. Music, he reflects, is a form of wealth no coin can measure, connecting hearts across walls, fields, and generations. Snow falls softly, layering the world in quiet white. Inside, the hearth burns, filling the manor with steady warmth. Edmund watches the flames flicker, tracing shadows on walls lined with books and memories. He recalls storms past, harvests endured, and laughter shared. The valley outside sleeps beneath blankets of frost, yet inside life hums gently, proof that careful tending, of land, people, and spirit, creates resilience that endures through cold and shadow. A young boy arrives to study with Edmund, eager to learn the ways of stewardship and balance. He carries notebooks, quills, and wide curiosity. Edmund walks with him through fields, explaining the rhythms of planting, harvest, and care. He shows him how kindness multiplies quietly, how listening matters as much as commanding. Each lesson is soft, deliberate, like the river's flow, teaching patience and observation more than haste or decree ever could. After spring rains, the river swells, nourishing every furrow and grove. Edmund walks its edge, watching water glint in sunlight, carrying soil, seeds, and life downstream. He pauses to observe ducks and herons, to listen to the rush of current over stone. This river, constant and gentle, reminds him that even the smallest acts, a bridge built, a field shared, a debt forgiven, ripple far beyond their origin, shaping the world silently and steadily. Merchants arrive from towns beyond the valley, bringing spices, cloth, and stories. Edmund greets each politely, yet warmly, asking after families, animals, and crops. He exchanges knowledge, advice, and small favors. The villagers observe quietly, learning that trade is more than coin. It is respect, reciprocity, and patience. By evening, he reflects that the quiet influence of fair leadership spreads like sunlight over hills, warm, persistent, and nourishing. Edmund strolls through the orchard, fingers brushing over bark and leaves. Each tree holds years of care, memories of planting, pruning, and harvests past. He pauses at a young sapling, newly rooted, thinking of the future. The wind rustles through the branches, carrying pollen and scent. He smiles softly. Time moves gently here, measured in blossoms, fruit, and lessons handed quietly from one generation to the next. A royal messenger arrives, parchment in hand. The king requests help with a distant crisis. Edmund studies the letter slowly, considering the people affected. He writes back with measured words. Not refusal but counsel, suggesting a plan of fairness and restraint. The ink dries slowly, a promise of thoughtful governance. Even far-off rulers, he realizes, respond to calm, deliberate guidance. Leadership, he understands, is measured in wisdom, not merely obedience. A feast is held to celebrate a good harvest. Edmund invites villagers and nobles alike. Tables stretch under the open sky, laden with bread, roasted vegetables, and fresh fruit. No lavish displays of gold or silver, only abundance shared equally. Laughter rings across the fields, soft and unhurried. He watches quietly, noting the joy in simple togetherness. The evening sun casts long shadows, golden and warm, and the valley feels at peace. The pilgrim who once sought shelter returns, older and wiser, bearing a gift of carved wood. He tells tales of distant lands and kindnesses observed. Edmund listens, understanding that the small acts of Thornbrook have reached beyond the valley. When the pilgrim departs, he leaves a silent lesson. Generosity, patience, and care echo further than walls and stone, shaping lives unseen but profoundly. Spring returns, and the orchard bursts into bloom. Bees hum over flowers, petals drift on the breeze. Edmund walks slowly, inhaling the scent, feeling the pulse of life in each bud. The new growth reminds him of lessons learned, patience, nurturing, and the quiet reward of tending carefully. The valley breathes with him, alive and steady, carrying the legacy of care into the years yet to come. Night falls, and candles glow softly in every window. The village gathers quietly outside the manor, sharing songs and stories. Edmund walks among them, listening more than speaking. The warm light reflects in every eye, connecting them in a web of shared humanity. He leans against the stone wall, feeling the weight of generations behind him, and the promise of the future ahead. The scholar comes again, offering new scrolls, maps, and knowledge. He speaks of distant lands, trade routes, and wisdom passed through generations. Edmund listens intently, knowing that stewardship is as much about learning as it is about teaching. He takes notes carefully, planning to share knowledge with villagers and neighbors alike, spreading the quiet balance of Thornbrook far beyond the valley's boundaries. Frost glazes the valley in silver one morning, sparkling across rooftops and fields. Edmund walks slowly, observing the patterns left on leaves and stone. He feels the quiet discipline of winter, stillness, reflection, patience. Life waits, yet continues beneath the ice. He touches the frozen earth and smiles softly, understanding that resilience grows in calm, quiet spaces as much as in toil or abundance. The young apprentice works alongside Edmund, learning through observation and gentle guidance. He traces the lines of the ledger, plants seeds in the garden, and helps distribute harvests. Each small act is a lesson in balance and responsibility. Edmund watches silently, pride swelling. He knows that the future of Thornbrook depends not on wealth, but on the care and wisdom passed to those who will follow. Summer arrives with the river full and glimmering under the sun. Edmund walks its edge, noting the movement of water over stone and the reflection of the sky in its currents. He sees children wading, birds diving, and the life of the valley moving steadily onward. The river teaches him patience and persistence. Life flows, unhurried, and shapes all it touches, just as thoughtful stewardship shapes the hearts of a community. In late spring, the valley celebrates the festival of blossoms. Flowers are strung along gates and doorways, tables set with fruit and honey. Villagers, apprentices, and travelers gather, singing softly. Edmund joins quietly, listening, observing the gentle rhythm of the day. The air is fragrant with petals, laughter drifts over the fields, and he feels the invisible thread of Thornbrook's care weaving together every life it touches. The scholar advises Edmund on distant trade routes and emerging ideas. He speaks slowly, knowing that understanding grows best without rush. Edmund listens, absorbing wisdom carefully, thinking of the valley, the people, and the future. The conversation stretches into the evening, candlelight flickering softly, shadows dancing across walls lined with memories and records. Knowledge, like kindness, he reflects, must be nurtured gently to endure. Edmund walks in the garden, past the roses, herbs, and apple trees. Bees hum in the warm sun. He pauses at a young sapling, planted only months before, and touches its leaves lightly. Each growth reminds him of lessons passed down, patience maintained, care given freely. The quiet air carries the scent of earth and flowers, grounding him in the steady rhythm of life, echoing the legacy of those who came before. As the sun dips, painting the sky in soft amber and rose, Edmund stands atop the hill overlooking Thornbrook. Fields, orchards, and cottages stretch across the valley, alive and vibrant. A gentle wind carries birdsong and laughter from the distant village. He closes his eyes, breathing in the cool evening air, feeling the pulse of life he has tended and the enduring rhythm of balance. The valley, like a living heart, beats quietly, steadily, and peacefully. Morning arrives slowly over the hills beyond Thornbrook. Mist rises from the fields, curling over stone walls and thatched roofs. Edmund walks to the manor edge, watching smoke drift from distant cottages. The neighboring villages stir quietly, farmers heading to fields, children chasing one another through dewy grass. He feels the subtle rhythm of the valley extending outward, as if his care has touched even those lands he does not own, a quiet echo of balance and attention. The young apprentice sits at a small desk, quill in hand, copying Edmund's ledgers and letters. His hand shakes at first but soon grows steady. Each line of ink carries more than numbers. It carries lessons of patience, careful judgment, and the weight of responsibility. Edmund watches silently, noting the apprentice's steady growth. When the boy pauses to look up, Edmund nods, and the apprentice smiles softly, understanding that knowledge is nurtured gently, like seeds in the spring soil. Summer's warmth brings the festival of the river. Villagers gather along the banks, offering songs, simple gifts, and gentle laughter. Boats drift slowly downstream, carrying lanterns that glow like fireflies on the water. Edmund walks among the crowd, feeling the pulse of joy, calm, and shared life. Children dip their toes in the water, elders smile, and the river itself seems to hum quietly, carrying the blessings of balance and care to every corner of the valley. A distant lord requests advice from Edmund. He studies the parchment carefully, reading the ink multiple times. By candlelight, he writes slowly, suggesting thoughtful compromise, care for the people, and measured action. He seals the letter with a steady hand, knowing that influence is often quiet, indirect, and persistent. His words travel beyond the valley, carrying Thornbrook's ethos of gentle stewardship, patience, and quiet wisdom. The orchard grows lush and green under the summer sun. Bees hum, petals drift, and fruit begins to swell on the branches. Edmund walks the path slowly, touching bark and leaves with a careful hand. He thinks of the generations past and those to come, realizing that patience, attention, and care yield growth beyond expectation. The air smells of earth and blossoms, and he feels the quiet heartbeat of the valley beneath his feet, steady and enduring. The minstrels return, their songs carrying tales from distant towns. They play softly in the courtyard as villagers gather, listening in awe. Edmund watches quietly, noting the connections music fosters. Children lean forward wide-eyed, while adults smile gently. Through rhythm and melody, the valley shares stories, emotions, and memory. Music becomes another form of stewardship, a soft thread weaving the community closer, carrying the legacy of care outward in sound. Snow blankets the valley, muffling all sound in soft white layers. Edmund walks slowly along familiar paths, observing footprints, icicles hanging from the eaves, and smoke rising in thin spirals from chimneys. The world feels paused, yet life continues beneath the frozen surface. He touches the frost-laden soil and breathes deeply, aware that stillness, reflection, and resilience are as vital as action, and that care maintained quietly endures through storms, cold, and shadow. The scholar visits with detailed maps of rivers, roads, and distant towns. Edmund studies them by candlelight, tracing routes carefully with his fingers. Each line is more than geography. It is connection, opportunity, and responsibility. He imagines how the valley interacts with the wider world, understanding that stewardship grows beyond walls, reaching unseen lives. Knowledge, tempered with patience, becomes a quiet form of influence, spreading Thornbrook's ethos far and wide. The apprentice continues his work beside Edmund, now more confident and deliberate. Together they review harvests, record trades, and tend the gardens. Each day, the boy learns not only numbers and records, but rhythm, balance, and the art of quiet decision-making. Edmund smiles softly as he observes the boy's growth, knowing that the strength of Thornbrook lies in these lessons being passed carefully, gently, and without haste to the next generation. The sun dips low, painting the sky in amber, rose, and violet. Edmund stands on the hill overlooking the valley, watching smoke rise from cottages and the river glimmer in fading light. Children's laughter drifts on the warm air, and the orchard glows faintly in the twilight. He closes his eyes and breathes deeply, feeling the pulse of life beneath his feet. The valley, like a living heart, beats steadily, guided by patient hands and enduring care. The pilgrim arrives once more, older and slower, carrying stories of hardship and generosity. Edmund listens quietly, absorbing tales from beyond the mountains. They speak long into the evening by candlelight. The pilgrim's eyes shine with gratitude, reflecting the quiet influence of Thornbrook's care. When he leaves, he carries not only coins, but lessons in patience, balance, and the enduring power of gentle guidance. Dusk falls on the orchard, soft and golden. Bees have retreated, flowers fold their petals, and the scent of earth rises in the cool air. Edmund walks slowly between rows of trees, touching bark and leaf, thinking of seasons past. He feels the rhythm of the valley, steady and constant, and the invisible thread connecting generations. Frost begins to touch the valley, signaling the need for preparation. Edmund walks among the barns, observing stores of grain, firewood, and tools. He speaks quietly to villagers, offering advice, guidance, and reassurance. The valley responds with calm diligence, inspired by the steady presence of their Lord. The preparation is quiet but complete, a testament to foresight, patience, and the careful stewardship that defines Thornbrook. The manor hosts a small, candlelit feast to celebrate harvests and survival through winter's first touch. Villagers, apprentices, and travelers gather, sharing bread, fruit, and warm drink. Edmund sits quietly, observing the joy in simple togetherness. Candlelight reflects softly on faces and walls, connecting all in gentle warmth. The feast is modest but meaningful, a reminder that abundance lies not in gold or display, but in shared presence and gratitude. The scholar shares new knowledge, teaching maps, stars, and methods of calculating time and distance. Edmund listens carefully, asking questions, taking notes, and considering the implications for his people. Knowledge, he realizes, is a form of care. It allows guidance to reach beyond sight and touch. By learning patiently, he ensures that wisdom flows outward quietly, shaping lives, villages, and even distant towns without force or haste. Autumn paints the river golden and red, reflecting the falling leaves along its banks. Edmund walks slowly, watching ducks glide and fish ripple the water's surface. Children skip stones, elders watch quietly. He notes the subtle rhythm of the river, persistent, patient, shaping all it touches. The valley, he thinks, is like this river. Life flows steadily, influenced by gentle hands, leaving traces of care, wisdom, and balance along its path. The orchard yields apples, pears, and plums. Edmund walks among the trees, tasting a fruit here, observing a branch there. He watches villagers and apprentices gather baskets, laughing softly as they work. Each fruit carries the care of seasons past, the memory of labor, and the quiet joy of giving. The orchard, alive and fruitful, embodies the valley's rhythm, steady, nurturing, and full of small, enduring rewards. The winter moon rises over the valley, casting pale silver light across the fields. Frost sparkles on the ground like distant stars. Edmund walks slowly, observing the quiet, hushed world. He breathes deeply, aware of the rhythm of life, the pulse of the earth, and the legacy of patience and care that shapes every stone, tree, and heart. Even in cold and silence, life continues, resilient and enduring, guided by hands that nurture without haste. The apprentice now moves with quiet confidence, guiding others in the manor and fields. Edmund watches silently, noting the subtle marks of learning, patience, and careful observation. Each day, the boy grows into stewardship without arrogance or haste. Edmund feels a quiet satisfaction. The lessons of Thornbrook, passed through generations, have taken root, promising balance and care long after he has gone. Twilight falls over Thornbrook, soft and gentle. Smoke rises from chimneys, the river glimmers faintly, and children's laughter drifts on the evening air. Edmund stands atop the hill, breathing deeply, feeling the pulse of life in every field, tree, and home. The valley rests, calm and steady, shaped by patience, kindness, and enduring care. He closes his eyes, letting the rhythm of Thornbrook fold around him, the quiet legacy of generations settling into timeless peace. Morning mist rises from the fields, wrapping the valley in soft gray silence. Edmund walks slowly along the path, boots damp with dew. The air smells of wet earth and moss, fresh and clean. Birds stir, their quiet calls threading through the fog. Villagers move silently among the mist, tending animals and preparing for the day. Edmund inhales deeply, feeling the pulse of life beneath the veil of mourning, patient, steady, enduring. The scholar returns with new scrolls, their parchment heavy with inked maps and careful diagrams. He speaks slowly, explaining distant lands, weather patterns, and trade routes. Edmund listens intently, absorbing every word. Each lesson is more than knowledge. It is care extended through understanding. By learning the ways of distant valleys and rivers, Edmund strengthens the quiet stewardship of his own lands, ensuring balance flows beyond Thornbrook itself. The wheat fields shine gold under the afternoon sun. Harvesters move steadily, scythes cutting through tall stalks, laughter drifting on the breeze. Edmund walks among them, observing technique, offering gentle advice, and sharing in the quiet rhythm of work. He notes the steady flow of life, the intertwining of labor and reward. Each sheaf of wheat carries care, patience, and the quiet pride of both those who plant and those who harvest. Leaves drift slowly from trees, spinning softly in the autumn breeze. Edmund walks the orchard paths, hand trailing along rough bark, listening to the rustle of fallen leaves. The air is crisp, carrying faint scent of ripening fruit and distant smoke. He reflects that the cycle of seasons mirrors the rhythm of stewardship: nurture, observe, guide, and release. Life continues steadily, quietly, shaped by care and attention more than by haste or extravagance. Edmund sits at his study by candlelight, reviewing records and letters from neighboring towns. The warm glow reflects on the walls lined with scrolls and ledgers, casting shadows that dance gently. He writes slowly, carefully, ensuring each word carries wisdom and consideration. Knowledge, he knows, is a form of quiet guidance, capable of shaping lives beyond immediate sight, and his hand moves with the steady rhythm of thoughtful stewardship. A traveler arrives from beyond the mountains, weary but smiling. He carries stories of distant valleys and small towns shaped by patience and care. Edmund listens quietly, absorbing tales of kindness, hardship, and resilience. By nightfall, the traveler rests near the hearth, and the two exchange gentle conversation. Each story, each lesson, flows into the rhythm of Thornbrook, widening the reach of its quiet, enduring legacy. Apples and pears shine in baskets, plums glimmering in the sun. Edmund walks slowly among the trees, tasting a few, feeling the warmth of the summer sun on his back. Villagers gather baskets carefully, moving with gentle laughter. Each fruit carries not only care and labor, but the legacy of seasons past, patience maintained, and a vision of balance extended into future years. The orchard hums softly with life, steady and enduring. Winter descends gradually, frost tracing delicate patterns across the manor's roofs and windows. Edmund walks slowly through the courtyard, boots crunching on frozen earth. Smoke rises in thin spirals from chimneys, mingling with the cold air. The valley seems paused, yet life hums quietly beneath the frost. He breathes deeply, feeling the steady pulse of Thornbrook, guided by care, patience, and the quiet wisdom of seasons repeated with thoughtful attention. The apprentice now moves with calm confidence, overseeing small tasks and guiding younger helpers. Edmund observes silently, noting the subtle marks of understanding, patience, and thoughtful action. Each gesture carries lessons passed down gently, ensuring the valley remains in capable hands. He smiles softly, knowing that the quiet work of teaching, nurturing, and observing has shaped not just skill, but character, ready to guide generations yet to come. Twilight descends over the river, turning water to liquid silver. Ducks glide silently, fish ripple beneath the surface, and children's laughter drifts softly along the banks. Edmund walks slowly, observing the calm, measured flow of life around him. The valley moves with a quiet rhythm, shaped by patient hands, steady guidance, and generations of gentle care. He breathes deeply, letting the soft glow of evening settle around him. Lanterns glow softly across the village, carried by villagers during the annual Festival of Light. Edmund walks among them, observing quiet smiles, small gestures of kindness, and the rhythm of shared celebration. Children dance, elders nod in gentle approval, and the valley itself seems to exhale softly in the warmth of candlelight. Even in simplicity, life is abundant, and the legacy of care echoes quietly across each illuminated face. The scholar arrives with updated maps and newly discovered knowledge. Edmund studies carefully, tracing distant routes, understanding trade and climate patterns, and planning future guidance for the valley and beyond. Each lesson is absorbed patiently, extending the quiet influence of Thornbrook into lands unseen. The candle flickers softly, mirroring the slow spread of wisdom, steady and enduring like the pulse of the river below. A modest winter feast is held in the manor hall. Smoke drifts gently from roasted root vegetables and baked bread, the warmth of the hearth mingling with the scent of herbs. Villagers and travelers gather, sharing soft conversation, laughter, and warmth. Edmund moves quietly among them, offering gentle encouragement and observing the steady rhythm of shared life. Abundance is measured in togetherness, patience, and the quiet joy of being present. The orchard rests under a thin layer of frost, each branch and leaf delicate and silvered. Edmund walks slowly, hand tracing the rough bark of trees that have weathered seasons past. He pauses, watching birds flit among branches. Even in apparent stillness, life continues quietly beneath the frost, a reminder that resilience, patience, and gentle care shape the rhythm of the valley through every season. The apprentice guides new helpers through the manor and fields. Edmund observes silently, noting the careful patience, quiet instructions, and gentle oversight. Every small act reinforces the lessons of Thornbrook: balance, care, and persistence. He smiles softly, knowing that the future of the valley rests in capable, thoughtful hands trained to nurture life, labor, and community quietly, steadily, and without haste. Edmund walks along the river at sunset, watching golden light shimmer on water rippling over smooth stones. Ducks glide silently, reeds sway gently, and the distant village hums quietly. He feels the rhythm of life moving steadily, shaped by patient hands and careful guidance. The river reflects not only sky and trees, but the quiet legacy of generations, carrying balance, care, and enduring wisdom downstream. The scholar offers counsel on distant villages, trade, and resources. Edmund listens carefully, taking notes slowly, weighing each suggestion. Knowledge is a form of stewardship, and he absorbs it patiently. Each decision is deliberate, designed to extend balance and care beyond the immediate valley. The scholar departs, leaving Edmund in the quiet warmth of candlelight, pondering how wisdom flows gently, shaping lives far and wide. Autumn returns, and the orchard rests under the golden sun. Fruit ripens, leaves drift slowly, and bees hum softly. Edmund walks among the trees, pausing to observe each branch. The valley is alive, steady, and patient. He feels the pulse of generations in each leaf, each basket of harvest, and understands that the quiet rhythm of life, nurtured carefully, observed patiently, shapes the valley's legacy more profoundly than wealth or force ever could. Frost glimmers on the fields and roofs, the valley bathed in soft twilight. Smoke rises from chimneys, curling gently into cold air. Edmund walks slowly, observing villagers, animals, and the slow rhythm of daily life. The cold hushes sound, yet life pulses quietly beneath. Each gesture, each act of care, has accumulated across years, shaping Thornbrook into a place of steady warmth, enduring patience, and quiet abundance. Night falls fully, and the manor glows softly from candlelight. Edmund sits by the hearth, hands folded, eyes tracing the flickering flames. Outside, the valley rests in silence, fields, orchards, and cottages steeped in gentle rhythm. He breathes deeply, feeling the pulse of life beneath his feet. Thornbrook is steady, enduring, and patient, a legacy of quiet care, patience, and balance, ready to continue through generations yet to come. A pale morning light spills across the valley. Frost glimmers on the fields, trees, and rooftops. Edmund walks slowly along the manor path, boots pressing softly into frozen earth. The village stirs quietly, the sound of animals and distant voices threading through the crisp air. He inhales deeply, feeling the pulse of Thornbrook beneath his feet. Steady, patient, enduring, a rhythm cultivated over decades of care and thoughtful stewardship. The apprentice sits near the hearth, reading aloud from the ledgers and letters Edmund has written. His voice is soft, deliberate, carrying words of wisdom, trade, and quiet counsel. Edmund listens, nodding gently, aware that knowledge is passed not in haste, but through observation, practice, and reflection. Each lesson reinforces patience, balance, and care, slowly shaping the next generation of stewards for the valley. The river winds through the valley, partially frozen, reflecting the low winter sun. Edmund walks along its banks, noting ice patterns, birds searching for fish, and villagers tending the water's edge. Life continues quietly beneath the apparent stillness. He reflects that stewardship is much like the river, persistent, patient, and shaping all it touches. Each careful act of care leaves a subtle mark, rippling outward in ways unseen yet enduring. Frost decorates every branch of the orchard like silver lace. Edmund moves slowly among the trees, brushing his hand over bark, inhaling the crisp winter air. The orchard sleeps, yet life stirs beneath the frozen layer of soil and leaves. He pauses at a young sapling planted recently, and feels the quiet pulse of the future within it. Patience, care, and attention have nurtured growth that will endure, season after season. The scholar arrives once more, carrying scrolls of distant lands and new methods of observation. Edmund listens carefully, absorbing every detail. By candlelight, they discuss rivers, trade, and the subtle rhythms that connect distant villages. Each conversation extends the quiet influence of Thornbrook, ensuring that wisdom, patience, and care flow beyond the valley. When the scholar departs, Edmund watches the path fade into the twilight, feeling the weight and reach of enduring knowledge. The apprentice now guides villagers and younger helpers with quiet confidence. Edmund observes from a distance, noting the calm patience in every gesture. Instructions are gentle, deliberate, and measured. Every small act is a lesson in stewardship, showing that influence need not be forceful to be profound. He smiles softly, knowing the valley is in capable hands, its rhythm steady, and its future shaped with care, patience, and understanding. A modest feast celebrates the valley's resilience through the year. Simple dishes, roasted vegetables, bread, and fruit, are shared among villagers, apprentices, and travelers. Candlelight reflects softly on faces, laughter drifts across the courtyard, and warmth fills the air. Edmund moves quietly among them, observing subtle connections, gestures of kindness, and moments of shared joy. True abundance, he realizes, resides in presence, care, and gentle interaction. Twilight descends on the valley, painting snow and rooftops in soft lavender and silver. Edmund walks slowly along familiar paths, breathing deeply, absorbing the rhythm of quiet life. Animals move softly, birds call faintly, and villagers return to their hearths. Even in apparent stillness, life hums steadily beneath the frost. Every careful act of stewardship has contributed to the valley's calm, patient, and enduring pulse, and Edmund feels a quiet satisfaction. The manor glows warmly from dozens of beeswax candles. Shadows dance across walls lined with scrolls, books, and memories of past seasons. Edmund sits quietly, hands folded, listening to the soft crackle of the hearth. Outside, the valley rests, fields, orchards, and cottages bathed in gentle warmth. He reflects on decades of care, patience, and quiet guidance, understanding that his legacy is not measured in gold, but in steady, enduring life. The river flows silently beneath the twilight sky, reflecting streaks of amber and violet. Ducks glide lazily, reeds sway softly, and distant cottages are alive with faint light. Edmund walks along its banks, feeling the pulse of life that continues without pause. The quiet rhythm of the river mirrors Thornbrook itself, persistent, steady, and shaping all it touches. He breathes slowly, absorbing the calm and enduring legacy that flows through every field and home. The pilgrim returns, older and slower, yet smiling, carrying tales of distant villages shaped by kindness and care. He shares stories by the hearth, voice low and deliberate. Edmund listens intently, noting the quiet connections between actions and outcomes, people and places. When the pilgrim departs, he carries a piece of Thornbrook's wisdom with him, extending its influence quietly, steadily, and far beyond what eyes can see. Morning light brushes the orchard, highlighting frost and early blooms. Edmund walks slowly among the trees, listening to the faint hum of bees and distant birds. Each tree, branch, and leaf carries the weight of seasons past, the patience of steady care, and the promise of future growth. He pauses to touch a young sapling, feeling the quiet pulse of life and legacy intertwined, a testament to endurance, nurturing, and deliberate attention. The scholar returns with careful guidance and observations. Edmund listens, tracing maps and considering long-term plans for trade, water, and neighboring villages. Each decision, deliberate and measured, ensures the valley remains balanced, resilient, and quietly influential. Candlelight flickers softly, shadows stretching across walls. Knowledge, patience, and wisdom flow gently outward, shaping lives far beyond Thornbrook itself. Frost glimmers outside, but the hearth inside glows warmly. Edmund sits quietly, hands near the fire, observing the soft flicker of flames. Villagers and apprentices gather in corners, sharing muted laughter and gentle conversation. Even in cold and shadow, warmth persists, cultivated through care, presence, and steady attention. He smiles softly, knowing that the quiet, patient work of stewardship endures across time and generations. The apprentice moves with calm authority, preparing stores, guiding helpers, and tending animals. Edmund watches, noticing the subtle, deliberate actions that mark steady competence. The valley hums gently with life, shaped by careful stewardship and patient guidance. Each act, small or large, contributes to the enduring rhythm of Thornbrook, a legacy of balance, patience, and quiet influence flowing steadily into the future. The river glimmers under a pale winter moon. Edmund walks slowly along its edge, listening to the faint rush of water over stone. Ducks glide silently, reeds sway gently, and distant lights shimmer in the water's reflection. The valley pulses quietly beneath frost and shadow. Each careful act of care, each patient decision, flows outward like the river itself, shaping life quietly yet persistently across the fields, homes, and hearts of Thornbrook. Lanterns glow softly across the village during the festival of winter light. Edmund walks among the gathering, noting laughter, gentle conversation, and moments of connection. Candlelight reflects softly on faces and snow, creating warmth and calm. The valley moves in a steady, quiet rhythm, shaped by care, patience, and enduring guidance. Even in cold, simple joy persists, weaving the legacy of Thornbrook through every heart present. The orchard rests under a blanket of frost, branches delicate and silvered. Edmund walks slowly, touching bark, breathing in the crisp winter air. Life continues beneath the frost, quiet and persistent. He pauses at a sapling planted recently, feeling the promise of growth and the steady pulse of generations past. Stewardship, patience, and careful attention have nurtured life that endures, season after season, quietly shaping the valley's rhythm. The apprentice now guides tasks across the manor and fields, moving confidently, speaking softly, and observing carefully. Edmund watches, noting the subtle marks of understanding, patience, and thoughtful decision-making. Every small action reinforces the lessons of Thornbrook, ensuring the valley's rhythm continues with balance, care, and enduring influence. He smiles, knowing the legacy is secure in capable hands. Twilight spreads gently over Thornbrook. Smoke rises from chimneys, fields glimmer under fading light, and the river reflects the soft amber sky. Edmund walks slowly, absorbing the rhythm of life around him. The valley hums quietly, shaped by steady guidance, patient care, and quiet attention. He breathes deeply, letting the calm of evening settle over him, grateful for the enduring pulse of life that he has nurtured and that will continue for generations. Edmund sits by candlelight, reviewing records, letters, and observations from distant villages. His hand moves slowly, writing carefully, ensuring each word carries guidance, patience, and care. Shadows dance across walls lined with scrolls and memories. Knowledge, he reflects, is a gentle force, extending influence beyond sight and touch, shaping life quietly, steadily, and enduringly in every corner of the valley and beyond. Evening falls over the orchard, painting branches and leaves in soft hues of amber and rose. Edmund walks slowly, touching bark and observing the gentle sway of branches. Birds move quietly, and distant cottages glow faintly in twilight. Life pulses gently beneath the calm, frost-kissed air. Seasons continue, nurtured by patience, care, and quiet stewardship. Each step he takes is measured, each gesture deliberate, honoring the enduring rhythm of Thornbrook. The river winds through the valley in the quiet of night, reflecting moonlight across its rippling surface. Edmund walks slowly along its banks, observing reeds, birds, and distant cottages. Life continues quietly beneath shadow and frost, shaped by careful guidance and steady attention. Each ripple mirrors the lasting influence of patient stewardship, echoing gently outward, touching every home, field, and heart in the valley with enduring calm. The apprentice moves quietly, guiding villagers, tending animals, and observing fields. Every instruction is gentle, every action deliberate. Edmund watches from a distance, noting the quiet confidence and patience that mark the boy's growth. Each day, the valley thrives under this steady care, its rhythm maintained and nurtured. Thornbrook's legacy of balance, patience, and enduring guidance continues quietly, shaping generations with thoughtful attention. Moonlight glows across frost-covered fields, painting rooftops and trees in pale silver. Edmund walks slowly through the manor grounds, inhaling the crisp air. The valley rests, fields, orchards, and cottages illuminated faintly in gentle light. He pauses, feeling the steady pulse of life beneath frost and shadow, the quiet rhythm of Thornbrook maintained through years of care, patience, and deliberate attention to every living detail. The scholar visits one final time, offering counsel and insight for distant villages, trade, and seasonal planning. Edmund listens carefully, absorbing each lesson. Knowledge, passed patiently and deliberately, flows outward quietly, shaping lives beyond sight. When the scholar departs, Edmund watches the path fade in twilight, appreciating the quiet, enduring influence of understanding, wisdom, and careful stewardship across generations. The orchard yields its final harvest of the year. Edmund walks among the trees, observing fruit, leaves, and branches kissed by frost. Villagers gather baskets carefully, laughter soft and steady. Each harvest is the result of patient care, deliberate nurturing, and quiet observation. The orchard hums gently with life, a testament to enduring stewardship, balance, and the rhythm of the valley, carrying lessons quietly across time. Night falls fully, and the manor glows warmly from the hearth. Edmund sits, hands folded, observing the soft flicker of flames. Villagers, apprentices, and travelers rest quietly, warmed by fire and shared presence. Even in silence, the valley hums with life, steady, patient, and enduring. Each act of care, each thoughtful decision, reverberates gently, shaping Thornbrook's legacy and leaving an imprint of calm and balance on all who dwell there. Twilight drapes the valley in soft shades of amber and violet. Edmund walks slowly along familiar paths, observing rooftops, fields, and the shimmering river. Life moves quietly beneath frost and shadow, shaped by decades of care and patient guidance. He breathes deeply, feeling the steady pulse of Thornbrook, the gentle rhythm of seasons, and the quiet legacy of balance, nurturing, and enduring stewardship flowing into every home and heart. Night settles fully across Thornbrook. Candles flicker in cottages, the river glimmers under moonlight, and the orchard rests beneath frost and stars. Edmund stands quietly atop the hill, breathing in the valley's calm. Life continues gently, shaped by patience, care, and steady attention. The legacy of Thornbrook endures, quiet, balanced, and enduring, a rhythm of life that will carry on for generations, whispered softly through every field, river, and heart. Dawn stretches softly across the valley, pale light spilling over frost-kissed fields and the quiet river. Birds stir gently, their songs delicate and measured. Edmund stands at the top of the hill, wrapped in a warm cloak, breathing deeply the crisp morning air. He watches the cottages wake slowly, smoke curling from chimneys, villagers beginning their day with calm purpose. A soft breeze brushes the orchard, carrying the faint scent of earth and winter fruit. For a moment, all is still, a perfect balance of light, shadow, and life. Edmund feels the weight of the years, the lessons past, the patience cultivated, and the quiet legacy he has nurtured. The valley hums softly, steady and enduring, each heartbeat of the land and its people echoing the care that has guided them. He closes his eyes, allowing the rhythm of the valley to fold around him. The troubles, the toil, and the small joys of life blend into one quiet, flowing pulse. The world is at peace, shaped by patience, balance, and gentle stewardship. As the sun climbs higher, warming the frost, a sense of calm fills every corner of Thornbrook. And in that soft morning light, the valley, the manor, the river, and the orchard all seem to whisper the same truth. Life endures quietly, gently, beautifully, and so does the legacy of care.